remember to turn that back on. It's all good.
We are now recording. Mm-hmm. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. And here we are, January 1, 2019. And what better way to ring it in than with all of you?
Exactly. Happy New Year and welcome to the Scuttlebutt Podcast. I'm Rich.
And I'm Sandi Mellon. And you are visiting with us in the basement of our home here outside of the city of Grand Prairie. And yeah, it's been a great year. We thought we'd maybe just kind of bring you up to speed about what we've been doing, some of the stuff that we've launched this year, and maybe some of the things that we're going to do this year now.
Well, it's been a day or two since you and I sat down to do a podcast. It was like
Remembrance Day or Memorial Day in the U.S.
And I look back, like I was, we just really actually got home. And I was looking back, taking care of email and that this morning. It's like the middle of December that we've been on the run since, Yeah.
Well, it's been very busy. We were, we had an in-store with one of our TV sponsors in Edmonton, and I had board meetings for the Alberta Conservation Association.
We had trapping.
Well, then we went and visited with our oldest son and his family in central Alberta, hoping that they were going to move into their house then, but they are moving in today. So that's been
New Year's Day
fun
for them.
Yes. Yeah, whole new year. Yeah, it's been busy. And one of the things that we did in 2018 was launch this podcast, and that was in July 2018. And we launched it just before we left for Escanaba, Michigan, to attend the National Trapping Convention there this past summer. So
yeah,
and you were watching. You were watching all the numbers.
The numbers roll up as we drove from Grand Prairie, Alberta, to Escanaba, Michigan. That's 30 hours.
One way,
yeah. And so it's lots of time to talk to one another, listen to podcasts, and check on our numbers. And I couldn't believe watching the numbers roll up, the number of minutes downloaded and that. This is one of the things that I think is really cool, because one of the big pushbacks we always get is that trapping, well, it's kind of should be one of those little dirty little secrets or whatever, right?
Well, people don't understand the relevance of something as ancient as trapping in today's modern world.
They don't, and we'll get to that relevance here in a minute, but I want to talk about the acceptance of it. There's a lot of people,
I think maybe they were ambivalent about it before, not accepting, but
I think that we give far too much credit to the loud voices that are against us than we do for the quiet ones that are with us.
But that's really evident in a lot of things in society today, right?
Absolutely true. Absolutely. Yeah. And when I take a look now, our YouTube site has been up June of 2015 is when we started. And then it was really flat to begin with because I just didn't have much up. And once you produce this, you have a product there that
a body of work.
Yeah, a body of work, and you try to, it's been aired on TV and that. Then you want to try and make some money off it somehow. It's a valuable asset, but there was just nothing, and eventually we went to YouTube, and so it got more and more. We recently monetized it. Now we have had people ask us about monetization of it. Let me tell you, for the $1.94 a month that we get from monetization, that it's not worth it for us. But what it does is, like with everything on the internet, is if you play the game by their rules, they put you in the good algorithm. So
let's be clear. There is only one way to play, and that is by their rules.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're in the better algorithm, and since we monetized, we've watched our subscription and our numbers go like this. And I mean, like I say, it's $1.94 a month. It's nothing, but it has really helped spread the word, and that's what this is all about. If we're going to be donating our TV programs and that kind of stuff, we might as well. I'm sorry if you have to put up with an ad, but you can click them and get out of them.
Well, it's really relevant, I think, so that people understand that there is relevance to trapping, that it isn't just a bunch of hillbillies out in the woods and creating mayhem and not doing anything for any particular reason other than just killing animals.
No, because when you take a look at those numbers now on YouTube, we have had, get this, it's over 11 million minutes streamed, which is 21 years, folks, of content downloaded, streamed. We've been on Amazon Prime now. for 32
32
weeks.
weeks.
We're over 3 million minutes streamed there. There's a lot of people that care about trapping. There's a lot of people that want to watch trapping. I think we've got a great message, and we're seems to be in this digital age that we're at the perfect time
Yeah,
to be talking about it.
And the other part of that is that not everyone is a trapper. They may know someone who traps. They may have had a connection in their past with a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle. They may have learned about it in school. We did.
Yeah, it was just part of the thing. But I mean, we learned a lot of things in school.
Yeah.
I packed my gun and to school and put it in the put it in my locker and went.
SWAT team would be called today if you did something.
Well, I
like
went
that.
hunting with the shop teacher.
Yeah.
The industrial arts teacher. We go hunting after school. I mean, the world has changed so much, but
Yeah.
the message is there, and there's people that are still interested in it. So, we're hitting all these big numbers on YouTube. We're hitting these big numbers on Amazon. The podcast is doing really, really good numbers. It seems like it's a great time to be getting all of this information out there.
Yeah, I think so. I think now there seems to be more in the news too about just the interaction between wildlife and civilization, particularly in the urban centers. So there's been quite a bit in the news recently about Calgary for one.
Yep.
And then some of the major cities in the U.S. that have had issues with coyotes, and now coyotes being brazen enough to attack children where it was pets up until now, which is bad enough.
There's a lot of pets get ate by coyotes every year, and now, as you say, that we're both Canada and the United States is seeing a drastic rise in the number of coyote attacks on humans. And I mean, if you're a coyote, we're a better place to be than in the city of Calgary. You know, it's a city of 1.5 million or whatever. There's nobody there nobody shooting at them or nothing else.
Yeah.
A friend of mine does the animal damage control trapping and that for the city of Grand Prairie. And the city of Grand Prairie we live outside of is
70,000 people live there. Yeah.
He took 25 or 26 coyotes last year in the back alley at Tony Roma's. You know, Tony Roma's, the steak and rib place. I don't think it's got anything to do with Tony Roma's, but that's in downtown Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
And he foothold. I mean, he has to foothold them because that way, if you catch somebody's dog, you can release it and that kind of stuff. But he does that, and he has to do it very much on the stealth.
On the QT.
On the QT, but he removes problem beaver and problem coyotes out of the city. So what better place? And it is. The funny part about all that is that it's the city people who have totally, they're never been connected to the wild and the animals of the wild, or they've forgot all about it because they're the ones that are voting to stop all of things like grizzly bear hunts.
Yeah.
Well,
it's an urban population that has no connection to wildlife other than perhaps Disney, which, God love Disney, but not the portrayal of wildlife in Disney.
Oh, we just had a terrible thing happen in the Yukon. And it's funny because it's in Jim Shockey's
backyard.
Well, it's in his hunting concession. And he thinks that he probably had an interaction with this grizzly bear this past fall. And he knows, or is pretty sure, that it's the same grizzly bear that they had on the TV program where they shot at it and did everything to scare it away multiple times.
Yeah.
This bear, anyway, went into a trapper's cabin and killed the trapper's wife.
And their 10-month-old baby girl.
Yes. The trapper didn't know any of this had happened, and he runs into the bear on his way back to the cabin. The bear is very aggressive, and he finally ends up killing the bear.
And then he finds his family.
But you know the part that angers...
It just gives you shivers.
The part that angers me the most is that if his family was okay and all that, how much trouble would he been in?
Yeah. Yeah, it's... and it's all because of people who don't understand what it's like to interact with wildlife. And now there is more aggressiveness on the part of hunters and trappers to try and change that narrative to be more truthful than what governments would have you believe in terms of the numbers of grizzly bears and the like, right? Because BC, in British Columbia, the province of British Columbia, which is our neighboring province to the west, they shut down grizzly bear hunting about a year ago.
Yep.
And there is now a lawsuit pending. In fact, I think there's more than one. One is from an outfitter.
Yeah, and it's actually, I think, going to be, it's hosted by the Outfitting Association. Am I correct in thinking that?
I don't know the specifics about it, but it's ruined his livelihood.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing has happened in Alberta, where the Alberta government has bowed to pressure from PETA-like groups, maybe not PETA themselves, but PETA-like groups of folks who say that there's no grizzly bears, they're an endangered species, and now there have been multiple encounters with grizzly bears, and that's the thing you have to understand about a grizzly bear, is that they have their own particular territory. But I mean, geez, you can go to the mountains now and you can see a lot of bears.
It's actually uncomfortable now. I mean,
and maybe that was the whole idea.
Well, the grizzly numbers are getting so high, especially in the foothills and the mountains, areas that, like, say, where we hunt bighorn sheep and that. Mm-hmm. It's uncomfortable. You might see 10 bear in a day. I mean, that's crazy, and they have no fear of you whatsoever.
No.
And I'm not. It's not like grizzlies ever had a lot of fear of people, but we kept their numbers in check.
Yeah.
You know, and now there are people that have full-time jobs, scaring bears away from oil camps, or logging camps where men are working.
Because it's illegal to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's illegal to kill them. And I mean, it's just crazy the situation we've ended up in. And I know biologists who work for the government who will not let their name be uttered, but have said that we have enough grizzly in Alberta for a hunt. Mm-hmm. BC has over 15,000 is their population. Average year, they kill less than 250. When they were hunting for them, they killed less than 250. The whole basis of this lawsuit is that the whole idea behind what we brought about hunting laws, regulations, seasons, and all that for was to manage game.
Yeah,
it was to scientifically manage game for the future. Well, the
science of it is completely out the window now.
The socialist government, the new Democrat government in BC, has,
and Alberta.
Well, but in BC, they've said outright, it's got absolutely nothing to do with science. It's just we don't have those values anymore where there should be trophy hunters. And where did the word trophy become a bad word?
Yeah. Well, I think it is supposed to denounce anyone that hunts for sport or takes a picture of anything. I mean, anything can be a trophy. Right? Depends on what your mind is, I guess. But it denotes a negative connotation now, and it's you wonder why. But it's kind of the same thing as dirty oil. It's.
Oh yeah, we hear lots of that. I think the big thing is I mean, we've allowed this to happen, but like you say, now the pushback's starting to happen because. Once you've lost everything, this is what everybody has always been so quiet about. Oh, we better be quiet because they could take it all away. Well, they've taken it.
Yeah,
they've taken it, and they're taking.
Well, we've quietly allowed a lot of things to be taken away from us to the point where now people have, as you say, lost everything or are near to losing everything, and why not fight now?
Well, you take with these folks in. It happened in Alberta, but it just happened so recently in BC. And one of our friends, he has. I believe he's allowed to take 5 or 6 grizzly a year. Well, those are $10,000-$12,000 hunts. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money every year.
Yeah, it is a lot, and it employs people, and it puts money into communities. None of this happens in a vacuum, and we're probably preaching to the choir, but anything that is done from commerce it benefits more than just the individual who accepts the cost or the price of a grizzly bear hunt or a moose hunt or a wolf hunt or whatever.
I love the argument that if there's no hunting, then people would come on camera safaris. No.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an argument that a lot of people try to use for Africa is that people will come on on camera safaris, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And when something has a value, it's protected, and
Well, it's as simple as this: is that there's nothing stopping them from going. There's nothing stopping the hunting safari and the photo safari from them both functioning at the same time. There's nothing stopping that. No. So we already know that photo safari will be 20% of what hunting safaris are. We already know that. Yeah. And so now if we get rid of this all of the money and income and employment and everything that goes with the hunting, now we're left with this little tiny bit for the photo safari. And it's just not, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't pay. One of the other things that's happened really recently in the news is the river otter in, was it Stanley Park in Vancouver, British Columbia?
Actually, no, it ended up right downtown. They think it might have came from Stanley Park.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of funny because they actually have, it's like CSI or something, folks, but they have a picture that they got on a... like a red light camera or something like that, and nobody knew what this was going across this busy highway.
Why did you suspect it might be a river otter?
Well, no, it's right in downtown, and it ends up in the Japanese gardens. And the Japanese gardens have these koi ponds.
Ancient koi.
Some of them are 40, 50, 60 years old, these koi are. Well, guess what? Where the otter is? In heaven.
Yeah, so this otter... they couldn't catch it. They could not catch it in a live trap. They did employ trappers to try and catch it, but eventually what they ended up having to do was to scoop all the remaining koi out of the pond and move them to the aquarium at Stanley Park in the zoo to protect them until they could either capture or until the otter left. I don't remember what happened with that.
I know. I could have fixed their trouble in no time.
Well, I think there were a lot of trappers that know how to catch river otter that could have done a good service for them, but
you can't fix stupid. But man, that was so funny because one side was whining and crying about these old fish getting ate, and the other side was, well, how come the animal's there? And here, then you have this. Well, we'd call it a trail camera, but then it was a stoplight camera, I believe. And here's this otter going across the
intersection.
Busy intersection. Yeah, it was funny as could be. But there's another interaction that they don't know what to do with. That otter was doing what he was supposed to do. People were absolutely mortified that there he was eating these carp. They're just fish.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God, they're just fish, and that's what he's supposed to do. So, and the nature of things is that, some trapper should have went there and trapped him, and that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
You have to take care of those issues.
Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of friends that do damage control trapping here in Alberta. And as you say, we have a friend close by who does a lot of it as well. And someone that I'm involved with from the board on the Alberta Conservation Association, that's a business for them. Mm-hmm. Lots of people are contacting trapper associations for problem coyotes with cattle herds. And actually, there's a bison farmer northwest of here who contacted me as his banker, actually, because he knew I was a trapper. Funny how that goes. Looking for assistance with wolves because he had wolf predation in his bison herd. So, it's how our circle becomes ever closer, it seems. And a lot of it is because people are now not so worried about telling somebody if they're a trapper or not. It's not a dirty secret. It's, we are a group of good people who are concerned about conservation, preservation, wildlife in general, and the relationships between the wild and the city dwellers.
Well, you need that buffer, and then it comes down to actually the reality, the economic reality of it. And we can talk about live moving beaver all you want in your lifetime, but we know from having live trapped beaver and moving them, you're moving them into another beaver's territory.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that in Alberta and BC here, every place that's viable has beaver in it.
And that's almost cruel to think about doing it that way,
It is, because they don't know where their assets are as far in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to compete against a beaver that does know the assets. The fighting gets pretty gruesome, but you end up with the situation is that what do you do with these animals? Like, people get upset that you're going to kill them. Well, I take a look at if the rural management, the RMA, phones me up and says, we've got a beaver damming a road here, damming a culvert. Well, if they have to take care of that themselves, it's $250 an hour for trucking.
Yeah.
Well,
this is just to undam a culvert.
Exactly.
Right. It's not to deal with the beaver itself.
No. So $250 an hour for trucking, minimum an hour to get the excavator there. They use the excavator. Usually they take a great big tree and they push it back through the culvert to push out the dam and that. So $250 an hour for that. Another $250 an hour for trucking. We're sitting at $750 to $1,000 flat just for that, and the next morning the beaver will have it plugged again.
Yeah,
they're
an industrious little creature, aren't they?
So you start looking at the economic realities. Beaver aren't rare.
No,
there is nothing rare or endangered about beaver. There's nothing rare or endangered about any of the fur species.
No,
and that's the truth of it, is that they have to be managed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's,
well, we know that, and I'm sure you all know that too. So it's just something that is always mindful for us, I guess, as we go through our world as trappers, and to share what we know about it and share the relevancy of continuing on an old tradition, one that opened Canada, opened the West for sure.
Yep, no question.
Yeah. So that's a big part of what we've been doing is interacting with a lot of folks by way of Facebook, and always your feedback on YouTube and Amazon Prime. Any comments you care to share with us, we are very happy to receive them, and we're grateful that you're watching. So thank you for that.
We, of course, have kept you up to date on our various chores around the cabin. This year coming up is going to see some major work.
Yeah.
I got half a roof to
Yeah.
half a roof to replace. And
he's only stuttering because it's a big job.
Well, after last year building a house for her son, it doesn't seem to be too bad. But yeah, I'm going to do that. Get a new wood stove. The Queen of Fire burnt the old one out.
Yeah. Well, it had had a few years of use before I got a hold of it, but
what's the old saying? It was old when Christ was a cowboy.
Yeah, kind of like that. The cabin's in good shape, and regular maintenance, though, as any homeowner or cabin owner would know, regular maintenance is required, and so we got a new wood stove to put in. Looking forward to that. Maybe won't burn as much wood.
Probably not. No, it's quite efficient. What we're burning isn't really high quality wood. It's pine.
Yeah, well, and it's beetle-killed pine. And for those of you that may not know what that is, there's a pine beetle that managed to cross the Rocky Mountains from BC into Alberta and has caused quite a bit of devastation in the forest industry. And so what we cut down is standing dead, essentially. They're dead trees. They're not of any good use to a logging company or anybody else. And so we cut them down and we split them, and this year has been really efficient because we had a new splitter to use. And
hey, but I've got another one.
I know, it's sitting out behind the garage right now.
You're gonna have to watch for this. I'll be getting some YouTube stuff up on right away. We like to burn birchwood here in the house. We have a nice fireplace upstairs, and we burn a fair amount of wood there every year. I don't know, a couple cords anyway.
Yeah.
2-3 cords. And the thing about getting wood isn't the work so much as the time. If you go out, we go out and we can get a permit. We can cut birchwood in the forest around here. But it's easy day to get yourself a cord of wood. By the time you're done, your day's shot, and you get yourself a cord of wood.
Easily.
So, you end up them 3 cords of wood or whatever, it's 3 days. I contacted a guy in the logging industry. They got to be good for something, huh?
Lord knows they cut down a lot of our trees on our trap line.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the things that happens is they actually do salvage work on birch. So when they have birch, they take and stockpile it in the yard at the sawmill, and you can buy it. We bought an entire
log load or a truckload of logs.
truck.
What was that? 32 tone.
So that's 2,200 pounds per tone.
Yeah. That's a lot of wood. And it also is sitting out behind. Not all of it, though, because we made a little trade with a friend of ours who we bought some of his. He did the same thing last year. And we went on New Year's Day last year and cut a bunch of wood out of his
pile.
Deck.
Yeah. Anyway,
deck of logs.
We've got this, I don't know, 30 tone or whatever still out there, 60,000 pounds anyway. And so I went and seen the guys I seen Rich at Range Road Enterprises, and I got his number one wood processor. So it is a unit that actually cuts it to length, it drops down, it splits it, and then it fires it out the back onto a conveyor and conveys it out. And also on the other end, this is all you have a 9 or 11 or 15 horse motor. I'm not sure. We
haven't looked closely enough yet.
Well, I was so busy. I mean, it was one of those things I picked up on my way flying around here in the month of December. It's still sitting on the trailer out there, but it's also got a log lifter.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. With the lever, I take and push lever. It lifts the logs. They roll over, and then it's got a feed. So it's got these big pineapple rollers that feed it in, and away you go. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to work on this. We'll get some footage up on it, and just because it's fun, and a lot of people think that processing 60,000 pounds of wood is fun, but I think it is.
Well, a lot of people aren't us. So
no.
And that'll be just something that we have out in the back here. That's the nice part about living where we live, is that we have a lot of area for storage of that sort of thing, and just to mess around with it, right? Like, when was that? November that wood was delivered, right?
I don't know. It's all a blur right now.
I know. Yeah, and part of it was, Richard alluded to this earlier, that our son and his wife were building a home in Red Deer, and that meant that Dad was doing a lot of the work. So I didn't see a lot of Richard from the 1st of May until probably the end of July. Well, no, middle of July, because that was about when we went down to Escanaba.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Let's talk about what they really want to know. Is how's the trapping season going?
What do they really want to know? Actually, we've had a good trapping season so far. Good year for Marten.
Has been, and until this last check.
Yeah.
And I didn't get one on the last check, which is
got
unusual.
A Fisher, but not a Marten.
But you know the really weird thing? I'm getting refusals. So I can't figure that out. Like, a refusal is when they come up and they'll actually climb the tree, or it looks like they climbed the tree, or if you have a leaning log, that's worse. That's really rubbing your nose in it. There's a leaning log, it's got snow on it, and the tracks go up the log, and they look
at it, and then they turn around and say, "Nah, don't think so." Some of it, but you had pointed out that maybe some of the actual bait that's in the box is kind of freeze dried.
Well, I've been really watching it because this year we have just a terrible population of pigmy shrews.
Yes.
And pygmy shrews will eat
they're just
frozen,
little guys, about that big.
Yep. But they eat frozen meat, and they will take and leave a skeleton there, just like it was ready for the museum. There'd be no meat or anything on it, just completely cleaned off. And so I watch for that because, I use like muskrats and that kind of stuff, and you throw them in there, and lots of times you just glance in there, there's a rack of bones, and you don't realize that there's no meat there. So I've been watching for that to see that situation hasn't happened. But I had one that I had a turn away on, and I still had a piece of meat in there like that, right? Mm. So I took and pulled it out, and it's like it weighed just about next to nothing.
Yeah.
So I took and cut it in half, thinking to open it up and maybe some more odor in that, and it's like freeze dried right through.
Yeah. So
I think I'm going to have to take and rebait everything because we still got a month of Marten season left.
Yeah, month of Marten season, and how many fishers do we have now? 7?
I don't know.
I think 7.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Our quota is 18.
Yep.
And many of the first years that we trapped on that particular, on our registered fur management area, trap line. We were at or won over our quota, and we had very few marten.
Yeah.
So now our marten population is coming back, and the fisher population has started to fall.
Do you know what's off the charts? Is our mink and our ermine.
Mink climbing a tree.
I'm doing a show on mink. We get lots and lots of requests about mink, but our system here, or how we get mink here, is so very different than anything that you folks end up doing, because we'd have no running water. Well, our water is under the ice right now, so we have to trap them a very different way, and it's going to be a cool show, but. We have had a lot of mink climb 4 or 5 feet up a tree and get into the box, which is unusual. The ermine, the short-tailed weasel that we have here, I was just out today putting up some more of them, and I think we're sitting at 40 or more of them already.
Pizza money. How many pizzas can? Well, and actually last year you did pretty well.
I did on my XLs. My XLs went for over $9 each, and that was awesome.
Yeah. And we do have big weasels. Like it's called the least weasel.
Nope.
Right?
No, this is the short-tailed.
Oh, okay.
The least is a really small little guy.
Oh.
It's the least biggest.
It's the least biggest. Okay, so the short-tailed weasel. We don't trap them around the cabin because they do keep our mice and squirrel population down, although squirrels are up. We've had a lot more squirrels around the cabin this year, to the point where we've had to snare them around the cabin.
Oh, I put them up, and I don't know what we'll do with them. Put them in the freezer for.
Maybe one day they'll be worth something again.
Who knows? We'll have a bunch of them. We'll have a stockpile.
Yeah. Anyway,
headache.
We laugh a lot about pizza money, because the first few years that we trapped, we were getting about $6 a weasel, I think.
Yep.
And at that time, you could buy you bake pizza for $18 or something like that. So we just called it pizza money.
Yeah,
it wasn't a whole lot, but it took 3 weasels to buy a pizza, sort of thing, and that's just sort of been one of our
ongoing jokes.
A little inside joke.
I had a crazy thing happen though on was it Christmas Day? I was checking otter traps, and otter traps we either put them, we blind set along their trail, or a place where they're accessing in and out of a hole. You'll put a trap over top the hole. Well. On what's called a spillover or whatever on a dam, the water stays open as long as there's enough of a current going over it. The water stays open, and I like to take and set traps in there. But you got to have the water deep enough so that your trap, when it compresses, will hold the otter down so that it doesn't freeze to the underside of the ice. So we took and is he growling?
Nope.
Oh, we took and set up on this one. Dam, took and set a pair of traps there, and the water's been running there, and they've been there now for those traps have been there for 3 weeks, and I go there and I religiously break it open and check, and the otters haven't been back.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're back the next day, and sometimes it's weeks before they're back. But the other day, one of them sprung, right? That was Christmas Day, I think it was. And so I'm there, and because I was late getting in for supper, and I was hungry, and I'd already told you to put the coffee on, and then all of a sudden I've got something in the trap, and it's under the water.
I think it was Christmas Eve, because Christmas Day we went elsewhere for dinner.
Okay. So I get it broke open and I start pulling it out. I was like, wow, this is big. And it's a 60-pound beaver. Well, 59 pounds. I still haven't got
59.2.
It's really weird. As many times as we set that open water situation in the wintertime, you never get a beaver. I've never ever got a beaver on a spillover or those open. Never.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And you'd think it would be natural for them to want to come out there and to try and stop the running water.
Yeah.
But it's like they,
for whatever reason, they don't, but they did. This one did anyway. Older, should have been wiser, wasn't, whatever.
Yeah, so we're sitting pretty good with the marten. We've got a couple dozen of them. We've got 5 lynx. 6.
Oh, 6. One was half eaten.
Yeah, the one just became bait for other pens, and that lots of kitties this year.
Yeah, which is really good, because last year we had a lot of juvenile kitties.
Yes.
And they were very
cannibalistic,
yeah. Yeah, a mama and the kittens, And Mama would get caught and the kittens would eat her, or the kittens would get caught and Mama would eat them. It was, yeah, it's crazy. But that's cats. They are very cannibalistic. And you don't die in a house if you own a cat.
Yeah. Because you know what's tomorrow night's fancy feast.
Yeah. Anyway, cats are a very different thing, but we have seen a lot of kitty sign this year
Big
because
kitties,
there's
too.
lots and lots of rabbits. And
Yeah.
that in our country, that's the big thing, is the population of rabbits will determine
Always. Oh,
what's going on.
snowshoe hares always determine how the population of the lynx, always. But we've it's pretty interesting, the fact that we went from all those little cats last year, and now this year they're big.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, we just did a guess the weight of the kitties on our Facebook site.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because I had 5 cats hanging there, and everybody guessed the weight, and we just did a random draw to everybody that played along to win a hoodie. The 5 of them weighed 111.4 pounds together.
Yeah.
You know, there was 2 over 26 pounds.
Yeah.
And they have feet that big. You know, like bigger than I can put them on the palm of my hand, and my palm disappears.
Yeah.
That's how big their feet are, right?
Yeah. They are cool. Cats are so cool. And you can really tell a cat track in the snow. It's very distinctive.
They're about as bright as this coffee cup, but they're cool.
Well, a friend of ours told us once that, I mean, you can kind of pattern what the canine species are going to do, the coyotes and the wolves, and you can kind of pattern everything else as far as fur-bearing animals goes. But he said cats are kind of like hippies, stone hippies wandering through the woods. They don't have any rhyme or reason as to how they want to do things, but they just do it.
Oh, it happens. Like I watched. I actually followed one all the way in. He probably went for about half a mile. He just got hit. And I knew it's a male because now they're starting to move because their mating season's coming up, and he got on my trail and just kept moving, and he's headed straight for a pen, and I'm thinking, oh, he's going to be there. But do you know how many times they get within like 50 yards or 50 feet or whatever of a pen, and then they walk off that way, and you know that the wind's wrong, so they don't even know it's there. But this guy walked right into it.
Or something else catches their attention, some shiny object somewhere or whatever. Squirrel. Yeah, they are the ultimate squirrel for sure.
But we were way behind getting everything set up. But over Christmas break, I used 60 more snares. I ran out of snares, so I've still got a few more to set up.
We came home a day early because we ran out of snares.
Well, we came, it was kind of handy though, because we were kind of like the riders in the storm there. We were just ahead of it.
Big snowstorm that we got here just hours after we got home. So it was nice that we got home in time.
Front wheels were on dry pavement, and the trailer was in the blizzard.
Almost. It was that close. Yeah. We were lucky to get home when we did, but it was good timing.
Okay.
Yeah. And still lots of trapping season left, like Rich said. The marten season goes till the end of January in our area, and otter and lynx go. So lynx goes till the middle of February, and otter is until
middle of
May.
Yeah.
Although we don't trap them that late here. But we don't have any otter yet this year, so that'll be something to target when we go out again this weekend. And what else? What else is going on?
Well, there's beaver and muskrat, but we haven't started. I haven't set up on any of them. There's a lot of muskrat push-ups this year.
There are more push-ups this year for many, many years, actually. Well, not many, many years.
I wonder if that's got anything to do with mink.
Yeah, maybe.
Why the mink numbers are up. It's really funny because everybody talks about how otter eat baby beaver or otter eat muskrat and all that. I have a lot of you're going to see on my the show this year on mink. I have a box full of muskrat sitting on a beaver dam or on a beaver house, because every mink and every otter, as they go through the watershed, that's where they go. Mm-hmm. They got to check out the dam. That's one of the places where they can get underwater, and they got to go check out the house, because lots of times they can get into the house.
Yeah.
What's really cool is that when you have a dam, so supposedly, here's the beaver house, and here's his dam, is that on the far end of his dam, he'll have a bank den.
Yeah.
And lots of times the otter will take and dig into it from the outside, and that way they get underneath. They're always looking to get back underneath the water.
Of course.
But that's why you can take and set a trap out in front of that dam, set it sideways, and you'll catch him going back and forth to the, to his I don't know, man cave or whatever.
Whatever. Anyway, so we got a lot more of that coming up. You just moved the wolf bait, so we're hoping that we might run
Yeah.
into some wolves. We don't have very many wolves on our line. I think we've talked about that before, but occasionally there is a pack or two that travels through. We don't have a lot of big game
No.
out there, but there's a horse running around out there. So who knows? Might be wolf bait.
Yeah, I know the fella from the settlement that says that it's his horse, but he hasn't come and got it.
Well, you can't seem to catch it, so.
Yeah. The wolves come back through it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a single mare. She ain't gonna have much chance.
Yeah. No.
But
And the snow's getting deeper. They, up at the cabin, we got a lot more snow again, just like we did here at home.
Yeah,
So
got a
6
foot
to
here,
8 inches or
well,
something like
got a
that.
foot up there, and and here we got
Yeah.
I don't know. We got a couple storms of 6-7 inches, but anyway, shall we wrap it up?
We should wrap it up. But we should wrap it up by saying how grateful we are that you continue to tune in to the Scuttlebutt, as well as the Facebook pages and Amazon Prime and YouTube. And we do appreciate all that you do to spread the word, spread the truth about trapping, and direct people to come and visit with us.
They can find everything right from www.trappinginc.com, and we're still working on the video journal.
Yeah, we are still working on the video journal. That, among other things, it's been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, take care, and we'll see you out in line.